people can put all this on Diesel. I know that, whenever I read back on things, it's always like, yeah, it was because Diesel was on top. But there's got to be way more to it than that, Matt. I mean, surely it's got to be a company thing, right?
Oh yeah, surely. I mean, there's been a hell of a lot worse champions than Diesel, that's for sure. I mean, if this was going to come, I would have said he should have came when it was on Bob Backlund was on top then, because that was a lot worse than Diesel.
Yeah. Well, and of course this follows up nicely that Meltzer reports the morale on the road is really bad, and I'm told majority of the wrestlers right now are not trying to not trying to do as little as they can do to get by, which makes for a lackluster house shows. So, in all sense of the big scheme, the morale, I can imagine, is pretty diabolical at this point. Matt, as we move to the end of July now, we have In Your House 2. I don't know how they end up with just having this again, but we do get it again, Matt. I don't know if you saw this one as well, or I didn't. I might not put this down for you to watch, so you won't be missing too much in any case. But Diesel up against none other than Sid.
Yes.
Did you catch the second match? The rematch that presumably in Vince McMahon's head everybody wanted to see. Another match between these two guys, which was a blow off in a lumberjack match. I think they thought that was going to do well in a match that just went just over 10 minutes. Did you get to see this, Matt?
I didn't see the second one, but after seeing the first one, I can't say I'm too upset about that.
It was the longest 10 minutes, I tell you. It was pretty bad. Again, more fiasco going at. Meltzer reports here that finally Diesel did a decent kind of, at least he didn't make a clumsy mess of things. It was all going okay-ish until at one point Mabel squashed Diesel into the post and got involved in the match. So you had more shenanigans going on there, setting up the new feud between Mabel and Diesel. And of course, overall the winner of this whole match was of course Diesel, who retained by pinning Sid. Matt, I mean, the fact that they went for this again, I mean, what the heck were they thinking after that last In Your House? And again, coming off of that King of the Ring, you'd have thought we'd better up the ante a little bit here. What was your? I mean, thank goodness it was the blow-off match, but I think that should have been blown off at the first outing. But the fact that they went for this again, Matt, is this just a classic sign of WWF stretching themselves too much here, and that extra pay-per-view at this point? I mean, fair enough. If they'd have upped the pay-per-views when they had Hogan and all the guys from the 80s, yeah, you'd have probably seen them fill it out really easy. But at this point, Matt, it seems like the worst time to put on an extra pay-per-view would have been 95.
Yeah, and it just makes me wonder how much forward planning they had with this.
Yeah.
Did they know that there was going to instantly be two Sid matches before they saw how awful the first one was, and they were like, well, we've committed ourselves to this now, so perhaps we'll just make it a lumberjack, and that'll make everything better. I think it definitely comes back to the people that Diesel fights. It definitely varies. If he's going to fight someone of equal height as him and the sluggish method to move around the ring that he uses, you're going to end up in a bad match. You definitely need a faster guy to work with Diesel.
Yeah. Okay, well, as we move into August 7th now, and the Wrestling Observer reports that we've had more in the way of updates into WWF's financial situation, while rumours are flying to the point that many are reporting almost that the imminent demise of the company, for reasons stated last week. No attempt to sell shares in the company, no movement off the headquarters from Titan Towers. It seems the alarm bells are ringing. The actual layoff figures is about 25 from the front office, which is slightly lower than what was reported elsewhere. The key figures being, there was a lot of high kind of guys that were in Titan Towers at that point that were laid off around this point, and of course, again they were trying to cut back as much as possible, and we're heading into what had always been the second best buy rate to WrestleMania, SummerSlam. And of course, the card at this point, Matt, it just gets announced, or at least the main events do. It's going to be the main event, Matt, of none other than the WWF champion Diesel up against the then King of the Ring winner, King Mabel, as he's been retitled here, and also a match between Michaels and Sid for the Intercontinental title. Matt, I remember when we covered this King of the Ring, I thought to myself, right, so what do they do with Mabel after this? How much do they push him? Now I'm at the point where I'm about to see that in all this. But to me, is this just a case of like, let's put anybody who's really big or, like a huge presence in front of Diesel, and he's the guy that's going to squash him, because we can't have Diesel against guys like, I don't know, like Shawn Michaels too many times, or Brett, where they look like they should be the babyface and Diesel should be the heel. Do you think that's why he's getting these monsters handed to him all the time, Matt?
Yeah, it's got to be that, and that's the way they've always worked with it, isn't it? And even when you're looking at people like Hogan, they would still try and find guys bigger than Hogan to fight Hogan, and that was a tall task. And this is the kind of problem they got with Diesel. But the thing is, it's harmful to themselves because, like I said before, they need guys who are faster than Diesel to actually put on a good match and to carry the match, because he just doesn't have that great chemistry with other big monster guys.
Well, before SummerSlam actually takes place, on Superstars and Challenge tapings, they do a Diesel Mabel kind of like a little couple of matches between them, and it's Diesel beating Mabel, but only by DQ, so they don't get the clean finish. But Matt, SummerSlam 1995 now, and of course the headline match is, of course, Diesel up against King Mabel here, or Mabel, whatever. Did you get a chance to see this one, Matt?
Yeah, I watched this one actually.
I mean, I don't know where to start, but it was dreadful for the most part. I don't know what the heck I was watching. There was lots of belly to belly going on from Mabel, and there was a terrible clothesline towards the end of it as well. It just looked so bad. What was your take on this match, Matt? Because this just looked horrible. I mean, on paper it might have looked something better than what it ever could be, but I never sensed that Mabel was ever going to be likely a champion here after seeing this.
No, it definitely was not in my all-time top 5 matches, and I kind of regret watching it. But I can't really say anything positive about it, which is the hard part. Yeah,
it's there is little other than the fact that it was probably just under 10 minutes, which is probably the only positive about it, because if it had gone longer. But yeah, I mean, what a terrible. I mean, as a main event, I don't know. It's weird when you consider the guys that were around. Like, you had The Undertaker, he was active at that point. You had your Shawn Michaels. You had Brett. I mean, they were all around. There was no injuries to these guys, and yet, these are the matches. These are the ones that they want to put Diesel on. I just think this has gone from being really cool and hip to now being a disaster, and fans are starting to switch off of this whole thing now, because it's almost been just like, let's just feed Diesel all these guys, and hopefully we can just keep continuing with that same pattern, and the best will come of it. Going past SummerSlam, Matt, I mean, there's another injury here to Diesel, who is again out of action due to the clumsy opponent, it's reported here by Meltzer. This time, when Mabel fell on him, I can't believe this, he severely bruised his lower abdomen, and did interviews at television, but didn't work because of this. He will not be in action until the middle of September now. So not only was it a terrible match, Matt, but you also get this coming out of it as well. Not great news here. Obviously, it's just worth pointing out, this interlinks very nicely with other wrestle line that we've done on other wrestlers. And of course, around this time, Matt, this is when Lex Luger jumps to Nitro after WWE pushed him still in recent weeks, which was a very bad move on Vince's part, reports Meltzer, because he basically had only his word that he would sign a new contract, because at the time his contract had expired. Matt, I'm sure we've covered Luger in great detail. We didn't go up until the point of his total run in WWF, but of course this is where it all resulted in Luger going, Matt. And of course it wasn't. This couldn't have gone down very well with WWF and Vince McMahon in particular, when he found out the news that Luger had jumped ship to go to WCW.
Yeah, never what you want to hear, is it, when you've tried to put that much hard work and tried to invest in someone only to have it sort of thrown back in your face?
Yeah, do you feel like, because the whole Luger thing, Matt, do you feel like that's the first time where Vince is like, that trust now with my guys, I'm never going to have that again? Do you think this is the one that did it the most? Because it's like it was the move that kind of, he was supposed to, he was on a Raw taping that night, and of course WCW got the huge coup by saying, well, we're live and now we've got him here, and it must have been a disaster for WWF at that time. But do you think that's the time where Vince McMahon started to realise, no more just taking guys' words now, and I've got to keep all my top guys in line, and I can't be pushing wrestlers that potentially are going to be out the door in weeks, because it's not like Luger did any jobs before on the way out either here, so it's pretty bad business all round.
Yeah, it's like almost one of their ultimate betrayals there. So, it would always go down in history, at least, as one of the most memorable switches to a different wrestling show.
Sure. Okay, it's worth pointing out here, the official gate for SummerSlam at Pittsburgh was they got some just under 400,000 here on the gate on the time, and the number in the building was 18,062. So we don't have a buy rate at this point, but also we reported earlier on this timeline that NBC had backed out of doing WrestleMania, the special for 1 hour. Well, here come the Fox Now channel, and they want to do a special on Lawrence Taylor versus Bam Bam and Shawn Michaels and Diesel, and they want to air it in October to get that going out. So WWF have clinched the deal with them, and they've kind of dropped any association at this point with NBC. So very interesting there. And then they announced this match, Matt, for the headline of the next In Your House, which is going to be none other than Owen Hart and Yokozuna up against Michaels and Diesel. That in some way the title would change hands. That's how they're selling it. So I don't know if that sets people on fire at this point, Matt, but that's what they were going with at this point for the fans. As we go into this In Your House, then, Matt, it's another main event. Is this a match that you're familiar with, Matt? When Diesel and Michaels teamed up against Yokozuna and Owen Hart at the time?
I do kind of remember this one now, thinking back on this. And I guess at this point, considering what we'd seen all the way up until this point, this would be a welcome change of pace. Yeah,
it's definitely something they needed, for sure, given everything we'd seen. Well, of course, at the beginning of the match, Owen Hart gets jackknifed to pin, apparently winning the tag titles. They ran a storyline through the show that Hart didn't show up, and all the rest of it. So Bulldog took his place in that match being the tag partner of Yokozuna. And yeah, I mean, I don't know.